everyone. Welcome to the show. Now, I would like to welcome back a guest. She's been here once before. She's a performing artist. Now, there's something else she's doing that we're going to talk about. Welcome back to the show, Kat Levan.
Hey, great to be back, Nancy. You're
Yes,
looking well.
thank you. I'm feeling good, and you're looking as well as you're looking good as well, is what I meant to say. So now you have embarked on something. I don't know if it's new, but are you going to talk about martial arts? Is that correct?
Oh, yes, actually, the martial arts career is goes back to my 20s
Oh,
and
okay.
then went all the way on till well past I started having a family. And I trained, for a long time after that. And, not that long ago, I quit doing the martial arts, but it was a very wonderful and successful career.
So what kind of martial arts were you into?
Well, I started off with judo when I think I was about 12 years old and made it to Canadian champion.
Wow.
And yeah, it was very exciting. And I was scouted for the junior Olympic team, but my family wasn't very supportive of my arts. So I never got to go. And that's kind of one regret I've always had because it would have been cool to go to the Olympics.
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah, kind of fun. Anyway, so then after I grew up and moved away from home, I joined a martial arts club, and they were a Kyokushinkai club. So it's a hard style. That means they really you go full out on there. It's quite challenging and a lot of injuries and such like that. And I got taken to a fight, and it was a ring fight, and watching the people fight, there was girls fighting, and I went, I want to do that. So my boyfriend at the time was running a school, and he said, well, let's get you in there. So I did a trial for an internationally world-renowned coach, and he was quite the taskmaster. I was the only girl he'd ever trained at that point, and he was not thinking that it was a really cool idea, but
Right.
I was like, no, I want to do this. I'll fight your boys. I don't care. So I trained with all men. And as a result, when I went into the ring, I ended up, pound for pound, I was knocking them out in the first round.
That's so cool.
I think my first fight was my first fight went all the rounds, but everyone after that, once I realized what I needed to do, I then went into the ring and knocked them out in 11 seconds, in 30 seconds, and I just figured that's, be smart, get in there, get in, do your job and get out,
Yeah.
and then you don't have any injuries.
Oh my gosh. I just want to say, like, I tried judo when I was young, and until it was time, I didn't have the uniform and I couldn't afford it, But one of the things I remember is when they were teaching us to fall. And the next day I had to go to work. So obviously I was working, and I couldn't lift my neck. I couldn't lift my leg up on the bus. So sore, right? But it was kind of a fun thing to do at the same time.
It's great, and you're right, judo really requires a lot of really strong neck muscles.
Yeah.
And but the beautiful thing about it is it's called the gentle way.
Right.
And it's a way to stop people from hurting you without actually hurting them.
Yeah.
Although you can use combat judo in a way that will actually harm other people, but it's more, it's still very gentle compared to breaking bones and arm locks and joint locks, etc. But yeah, I really liked judo. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I tried karate as well. I grew up in an abusive home, and I guess I walked around with a sign on my forehead saying abuse me. So all kinds of bad things would happen. And so I figured if I took karate, it would help, And I only took it for a year, but it was hard because I was the only girl. And the men did not want to pair off with me.
Yeah, I ran into that exact same thing. Oh, you're a girl. And I also ran into the situation where they said, oh, you're a girl, you will never get past blue belt because you're not competent. You'll never be competent because you're a girl. And I just got, that little rebellious side came out and went, I'll show you, and then I beat, pretty much everyone that was anywhere near my size. And they had to, give me the belt raises because it was becoming embarrassing.
Yeah, yeah.
And
yeah. I was just going to say one of the things about instructors, like the instructor I had told me, he said women are the last ones to drop. They have that kind of stamina that a lot of men don't have, right?
yes, and what I found in my fighting career is that when it came to promoters, they loved having women's fights on the card because women's fights were always more interesting. There were, a lot of times the men are just like, ooh, ooh, and then they hang on each other. And they just weren't active. They were just trying to endure. And we were like, let's go. So they were always the best fights of the night were the women's fights. And I think it's pretty much that way now still. The women's fights are very, very aggressive, and it was really wonderful. I really liked that. But like you, my roots were coming from an abusive background, and trying to I used it to help get out. I had angry feelings inside, and they were not making me feel like a happy person.
Yeah.
So I thought if I could just pound the daylights out of a bag or another person or whatever. And the nice thing about fighting in the ring is that it's consensual, right? You both know that the whole idea is to try to knock the other person out. So, if you get hurt or you hurt them, there's really no guilt. Whereas if I was to do that on the street, there'd be a huge amount of guilt of hurting somebody. So that's where my started, and I'll tell you, it did a great job.
Very good, very good.
Not only of getting that anger out, but also of preparing me to protect myself from people who saw that label on my forehead and went, okay, let's pick on her.
Right. And what do you think about it, just in terms of what's the word I want to use now? Just for discipline, self-discipline.
It was brilliant for that. And what I appreciate most about it is I'm not a real big fan of working out. And so what was happening is we were training 7 days a week and teaching 2 different karate classes.
Wow.
So it was, and working a full-time job at the same time.
Yeah.
So there was like, I'd come home from work, I was exhausted, and I had like 15 minutes to change my clothes and get out the door to teach 2 classes, and then home by 11. And then up at the crack of dawn to start all over again. And in the midst of all of that, I still had to find my own personal training with my own coach. So it got to the point where I realized, somebody said, how do you do all that? And I says, you just don't give yourself a choice. That's what self-discipline is. You do what you got to do, and you ignore how you feel. You just get it done.
Right. So at what point did you decide to teach it?
I was training, and I think I was green belt or blue belt or something like that. And I had some really great ideas, and my boyfriend at the time was the head instructor, and I was helping him organize the club and get everything done. And then I also had these ideas. And so he says, well, why don't you start putting those into use? And the next thing you know, I was teaching, and it was just because of the way my mind works. I look at a situation and I think, how can I make that better? How can I make that punch faster, stronger? Because I'm the littlest one around. I need to hit twice as hard as anybody else. How am I going to do that? And then now I taught others because I was winning, tons and tons of trophies.
Right.
I just thought, well, okay, here you go. And then we started a whole curriculum around that. And we ended up training, Canadian champions all over the place because we were very structured and we had a lot of ideas. We had 4 instructors when we were all pooling ideas to make sure that we had the best technique around.
So how do the Canadian schools compare to, say, the Japanese schools, would you say?
Typically, the difference is the Japanese are very set in their traditional ways.
Okay.
So there's not a lot of evolution. There's rare schools that will evolve, but for the most part, it is stick to the traditional that's been there since, whenever it first began. And so it gets stuck. And pretty soon what happens is people realize, well, you're going to do this and this and this. You become a predictable fighter, and therefore you can be beaten. We were often unpredictable because the things that we were demonstrating and teaching our students had never been seen before. So that gave us the edge over a lot of the schools who were also teaching very traditionally at that time.
Right. So how long did you teach?
Ooh, about 25 years.
Oh, that's a long career. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Very good.
It was
But sorry, go ahead.
it was a lot of fun teaching, and I taught right up until the day that I went into labor with my son. And I went to sleep, went into labor and, stayed home for a month, just laying down, relaxing, and then got right back up, popped him in a snuggly and kept on teaching.
No, is he into martial arts?
He runs his own club and it's a very successful club. He's taken what we gave him, the foundation, and come up with some amazing ideas and growth off of that, and his own personal creative spin on things. And he is just really kicking butt and taking names. His school is basically they have a waiting list. You can't just show up and join their club. There's like a 3 to 6 months waiting list right now.
Oh my. Is he in Vancouver?
In Surrey.
In Surrey. Okay.
Yeah, right off King George and 109 Avenue. But
May as well give him a plug.
yes, it's Surrey Sports and Performance. Surrey Combat Sports and Performance.
Okay.
Just right off of King George and 109th. So
Right.
yeah. And what was hilarious was because I did so much training right up until labor, he popped out and I was nursing him, and there he was this perfect hook punch while he's nursing me. He's popping me in the boob. I said, look at that hook punch. It's perfect. It was hilarious. And he was, and his father, of course, trained him to do punches and kicks when he was a baby. So he started out really good, and he went to all of the classes right up until I think he was 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
It can take a lot of commitment, right? If you want to really excel in it.
It has to become muscle memory.
Okay.
And that muscle memory has to be very, very strong so that it pops out when you're not even thinking about it. Somebody, and that's actually what's really helped me. A couple of times I was attacked, and the muscle memory just popped right out, and boom, boom, boom. I didn't even know it had happened.
Right.
And the guy was on the ground. And so I was like, okay, I don't think you should be attacking women.
No.
He was like, oh, and then he ran away crying, which I thought was hilarious for a mugger. But things like that happen, and when you have the training, it's not like you can train, oh, I know it now, and then you're good forever.
It's not.
It's a muscle you have to work, or it will atrophy.
Right.
I'm
glad you said that, because I often hear about women getting self-defense classes, but it's for a limited time, maybe 6 months, 3 months, whatever it is. But your muscles have not learned to respond, right? The memory.
The longer you do something, the better you are at it. So, self-protection is something that should be part of your life forever. So yes, you can't stop it and expect, oh, well, I took one course 25 years ago, I'm good.
Yeah.
And even in trained professionals, they was doing some studies. It was fascinating to see whether or not a female instructor could handle herself under attack on the street. So they didn't know that they were going to be attacked. These people attacked them were trained.
Right.
And it was fascinating to watch how because when you instruct, there are occasions when you stop training because you're teaching. And the ones that had stopped training were a mess. Right. They couldn't defend themselves properly, which is awful when you think about that person's a black belt. They're teaching people.
Yeah.
But because you have to keep up your personal training, otherwise you lose the edge.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we live in a times that is important for, well, not just females, but any males or females, that to learn self-defense. Because we hear so many stories about people being attacked out of the blue or whatever, right?
It's true. And I've run into this a couple of times, several times, but a couple that are really interesting. And that what you gain from having that confidence
Mm-hmm.
is the knowledge that you could hurt or maim or kill people if you chose.
Yeah.
And I was walking down the street, and I think I was 25 or something like that. And this gang of kids, probably about 18 years old, but all bigger than me,
Mm-hmm.
came up, and I could sense from like 50 feet away, uh-oh, trouble is walking. And I looked at them and found the leader and decided that, okay. So I went right up to him and I said, hi, how are you doing? I'm new to the area, what's this place like to live in? And he shook his head. He was like kind of confused because he was getting into battle mode. And
Okay.
I brought it to the personal level and
Right.
connected him eye to eye. I wouldn't let him break his eye contact. And all of a sudden, the whole gang melted and they stopped. And I said, well, have a great day. Gotta go. Bye. And I
Wow.
left. And that was one time where it was, I was able to use my training to sense danger
Yeah.
and then to know what the best outcome would be. I could have fought them. I fought numbers of people at a time as part of our training,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think that it didn't warrant hurting people. I could deflect it, and there was one time I was walking downtown LA, never been to LA, didn't know the downtown was a bad place to go. I thought you always go to a city downtown. You don't go to the outskirts of a city, but this was gang related and it was just awful. So we're walking down the street and we all of a sudden picked up, oh, we're being followed. And they had 4 people and they were taking turns following us, and then another one would pick us up and then back and forth, and they had baseball bats and chains, and I could see that they were going to go for us. So we just went, okay, what are we going to do? Do we want to fight? Well, we don't have any weapons. I got a purse. That was it. So we went, okay, how do we get out of this? It's kind of like war. You got to be strategic. So we crossed the street once, we crossed the street twice. The third time we crossed the street, they realized, oh, they're onto us, and they let us go. But it was one of those moments where like, they got baseball bats and chains. This is serious stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've got a gun. They might have.
Right. You just
So you use that training to prepare yourself so that you don't have to fight. The best warriors win the fight before the fight is even started.
Good.
And
word.
that's the whole goal, the ultimate goal is peace.
Right.
But to have the skill and the knowledge that at any moment you can go to war.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to say I'm always amazed by attackers because they're usually like gangs. They're usually a group. I would think individually they probably would never even attempt anything. Most of them anyway. Right?
Yeah. Cowards band together to feel strong.
Yeah, I was just going to say such a cowardly move. So
Yeah.
no, just before we end this one, I just want to ask, what else have you got going on? Like as if your life wasn't enough, busy enough.
Well, yeah, life is very interesting, and I'm getting a lot more philosophical view about it now as things come in and as things pass, to accept what is and move forward with the new opportunity, even if you're not sure about it, but to sort of investigate it. And that's what I'm doing now. So I've started reaching out into art.
Okay.
And my first canvas ever, which I thought, my instructors thought it was hilarious. Most people start with like a 5 by 5 inch canvas. My first canvas was 8 foot by 4 foot.
Oh my God.
So I thought, well, it's just the vision I have.
Yeah.
And it's got to be that big. And then the second canvas was 5 foot by 5 foot. I'm doing that one now, but it's going to be, when I finish the piece, it's going to be 7 foot by 7 foot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's great. We're going to end there because just want to tell the audience that I'm going to invite Kat on to show some of her art and speak about her art. So she will be back. So I hope you tune in and subscribe and share and like and all those wonderful things, because that helps my show. So like, hey, I like that. And if I can help somebody else by promoting them or sharing their stories, like with Kat Levan, I'm so happy to do that. Anyway, everybody take care, have a good life, and be nice. All right. And peace out, everyone.
Thanks, Nancy.
a sense of community. Chilliwack's a place to be, a sense of community where you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me. It's multicultural, you're sure to see it all. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see. Come party in the park, go dancing after dark. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see.